I don't know. That's a great question. Rick asks the panel, does collecting stress you out? Do you worry about not getting certain pieces? How do you manage it all? We could probably talk hours about this one. For me, the stress part was wanting to collect too much. And so I streamed my collection down to just Batman. We were talking recently, like Jeff Delaney we talked about our last show about how we kind of are changing our direction a little bit, and how Jeff is collecting what he loves. It doesn't matter if it's different properties. He's collecting what he loves. Has that ever stressed you out? I think probably more than anything, it's probably the space thing that stresses you out in particular. Do you want to talk about that, like with stress with you?
Sure. For me, it's the whole spectrum. I go from thinking, what the hell am I doing, spending all this money and using all this space for these stone sculptures, to being really, really excited and happy to be part of the community. It's literally the whole gamut of emotions with this hobby, which I'd never have had with, for example, comics. But there's something about this hobby. Maybe it is the space and the time that it takes, and it can be hard to sell something if you decide to pass on it, that there is some stress involved. And there's also just, I don't know. Some days I wake up, it's like, why am I doing this? And other days it's just like, wow, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. It's interesting how it does change from day to day.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric? How about you? Do you ever feel stressed out about this hobby?
Yeah, like Delaney said, it goes back and forth. Like one day you're excited, and then the next day you just stressed, and same thing. Like it's like, what am I spending all my money on? What am I taking up all the space for? Not most recently, but my previous collection with the new 52 was stressful just in the way that they released everything. So they showed the entire line all at once, but then they only released each statue during a certain period of time. So as each piece came in, I was worried whether or not they were going to fit in my cabinets, because I was, at that point I was all in on that line of the Justice League New 52. So, and then the last one was Batman, which is the one that I really wanted. So when they all started coming in, they all ended up fitting except for Batman. And now I was at the point where I was like, oh no, the one that I really wanted doesn't fit in my cabinet. Do I sell everything? And
and they didn't make the last one either. They didn't make with it.
Yeah, then they didn't do Aquaman, and yeah, I mean, there's so many ways of you can go into of statue collecting stresses, but yeah, that's the first that comes to mind, was that New 52 collection.
I'll switch over to Matt. How about you, Matt? Like, do you ever feel stressed with this hobby? I mean, you kind of have a couple of different lines that you do. I know you do a lot of Harley, and you do a lot of like video game pieces. Do you ever feel that stress?
Oh yeah, I think like everyone just already said. And for me, it's like the money and the space. I have too many interests, and I didn't set limits. And now to set those limits means to sell the pieces I love, which I refuse to do. Right. So I'm really in that line. I don't know how to juggle that at this point. And then, pre-orders for the last 2 years, they get delayed. The next thing you know, you had 6 orders. They were spaced 2-3 months apart. Now they're all coming the same month.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how do I pay for 6 pieces at once? Because I always did deposits. Now I'm changing my ways on that. But prior, unfortunately, I had to cancel a bunch of things, losing money. That stressful on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Jeff? Do you feel the stress? I feel like you're probably the most chill of all of us in terms of.
Well, I don't have anything pre-ordered. I'm waiting for the Captain America, but no, the thing about it is that you just have to realize that you can't have everything, or I can't. So you just have to be okay with that.
I think that's what makes like the YouTube thing and the Facebook groups fun, is because that way we can see what else is out there and experience it through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah. All these pre-order things, your video and everybody chiming in the one guy that posted his.
Oh my God, that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Did you guys all see that?
Cramped up.
Did.
Yeah.
I was
I thought that was insane, and I think my favorite comment was like Mr. X chimed in. He said something like amateur or something like, it's
Yeah.
like yeah, I can't even imagine what his pre-order list looks like. But yeah, that I don't remember who that was in the chat, but or in the Facebook group. But oh my god,
But I looked. It was like what, $80,000.
I think it was more than that.
Crazy.
I could not be more stressed if they called me and said, "You have to ride on a rocket to space tomorrow."
Well, and that's what I wanted to get at right there is like, how do you manage it all? To me, the thing that is helpful is that spreadsheet. And I know not everybody does that. Not everybody wants to do that. It might be a little nerdy, but for me, it's a visual because that person said, I had no idea that they were at 80,000 or whatever dollars and they're like, I might have to cancel a few and blah, blah, blah. But like, that's the thing that keeps me grounded is to say, okay, I know how much I have in my bank account. I know I can't go over this amount. Do I sometimes not look at my spreadsheet for a few months? Yes. And I try not to look at it because I know that I know that I'm like, well, I really want to pre-order this.
It's
But
dangerous
Often
not
do
to
you
look at it.
update it then? But I mean, do you update it as you order and cancel things? So
I do. I have a running that's like it's just it's not Excel, but it's just a Google document that I just keep, so I just have a line item. And so I have like my Prime 1 grouped and my Sideshow stuff grouped or my Queen or whatever. And I try to group it by when it's supposed to come out. Of course, that changes because it's always delayed. But I have my dollar amount that it is. I have how many reward points I used on it, or how many, whatever discount I might have on it through whatever rewards program I have, and then how much anticipated shipping is going to be. Sometimes I leave shipping off, and then that's just a little surprise at the end of the month whenever it's ready to ship that I didn't really factor in. But I try to put shipping in. But I mean, it's such a crapshoot these days. It's you just have to guess.
I don't know if I could do that. A spreadsheet just sounds like another stress to me. And like I haven't done that with statues yet, but I used to do that with comics. So with comics, like my raw books, I would, write down the comic. I would go through it and grade it and just have this whole entire spreadsheet of everything about that specific book. And, the thousands of books, it's a lot of work. So I can imagine doing that.
But don't you think that would do you ever like worry about like how much you are going to have to spend? Like, do you ever like not know how much you're?
I didn't do it so much for the money. I did it so I wouldn't have to keep opening the comics and trying to figure out what the grade was so I would write down like my own notes, like, all right, this book has this damage or it needs to be pressed here, and so on. So in the long run, I don't know if it was worth sitting there doing all that data entry or just going back and opening the book up and deciding if I wanted to have it graded or what I want to do with it. But it wasn't more about the money. It was more about the condition of the book and what I had in inventory.
What about with statues though? Do you feel like a spreadsheet would make you stressed out with just statues that you have on pre-order?
Probably not, because I don't have that many, but I'm thinking like people that do, like say you have like $20,000 or, up to $100,000 worth of statues. I don't know. Constantly sit there and update it.
George Raw commented in the group. He's like, I think 20 might be a little shy. It's like, I don't want to know what the actual total is, but that's just, kind of what it showed. At least that's maybe what I owe minus my discounts or things like that.
Plus you said you have a few you might be pre-ordering.
Yeah, there are a number of
them.
them. Yeah, that's the thing, is there are a number of them that I might and probably will. And we're about 150 away. We were 50 away just a minute ago. We're down to 146, but we were just real close to 150 watching. So when we get to 200, I will pre-order something. So
but you said, how do you manage it? For me, I guess I try not to think about it. So the less I think about it, I think the better.
Yeah, I just think it helps you budget, and to me that takes some little bit of stress away. Because if I didn't have the visual of that, I'd be like, I have no idea how much I've spent because I pre-order just about whatever I want. Not everything, obviously, but the pieces that I know I really want to add to the collection, I tend to order.
Do you find though it difficult with delays and pieces that don't come out till the end of the year though? Because I feel like I push those ones off on my agenda. Like, oh, okay, I have Vampirella coming out on my order list. She's end of the year to 24 at this point. So I'm kind of going, I only put a deposit down. Not worried about it right now, but also it's going to creep up. And
Well, like for me, like I said, I have all of my money in my account, so
Okay.
it's just sitting there, you know, and so I know it's there for when it's ready to ship. I know I'm good to go. And if I didn't have the money in my account, then I would just have to cancel. You know, I'd have to lose the deposit or whatever. But I feel like that's where, again, that spreadsheet helps, where I know exactly how much I have and how much I have to worry about. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't tend to worry too much about the delays. I mean, other than just that that adds to the stress of like, when is it going to come out? But I don't know. What about you, Jeff? Do you feel like, I don't know, do you budget? I mean, how do you do that part of it? Do you,
Me?
yeah.
Well, I don't do a spreadsheet. I only have pre-orders from 2 places, Sideshow and Todd. So I just look at my open orders from both those 2 websites to see what's coming. I can't say I really budget. I have a separate credit card for comics and statues that's separate from our family finances. But I take it one statue at a time. So maybe I'm not doing it the right way, but a statue comes in, I get a visceral feeling of whether I want to keep it or not. And then if I have to sell something to make that happen, that's what I do. If I don't have a visceral reaction that I want this piece, it either gets returned or sold right away.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny how like everybody does it differently. You know, it's like there is no right or wrong way. But there are different things that, I mean, just like in life, I mean, there are things that stress us out, and like what stresses me out might not stress Eric out, but you know, whatever we can do to try to help reduce that. Again, for me, my biggest stress by far was back when I started collecting was that I collected Star Wars, I collected Marvel, I collected so much stuff. And then back then too, I was working on a very, very limited budget. The money that I spend on this collection is not part of my family's budget at all. Like, that's completely separate. My salary at work is my family's.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything that I've been able to accomplish through here is by buying and then, you know, just kind of refreshing my collection over the years, doing this channel, doing things like this. And so back then, especially, like if I wanted more pieces, I couldn't, there was no way I could make it happen. So that was stressing me out, that there were so many things that I wanted. But just for me, accepting to say, hey, I need to pick something that I know I'm going to love and just focus on that. That was helpful for me. So again, there's different parts of this hobby that stress us out. I think money and space are probably the top 2, at least in my opinion, of what most people I think are stressed out about. But do you guys agree with that? Money and space?
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.